Hello everyone, welcome along to Grand Prix Turin. Rich Hagen and Matej Zadelkai in the booth with you. We are ready to go in round number 11 and we are going to see Simon Nielsen, the Great Dane, up against Luca Sacchi from Italy, I presume. 8-2 the pair of them, so both very much in contention to win this one. And we're going to start off with a Minister of Inquiries, or Inquiries, if you prefer.
Yeah, the best one-drop in what I assume is Jeskai GPG, as they call it. So Jeskai God Pharaoh's Gift. Yeah, it's a mouthful. But yeah, it's a solid deck, I would say. And we're probably going to see why, even though Mono Red might be a little tough here, but winning the draw, winning the die roll, and starting off with a Minister of Inquiries and then a Cathartic Reunion is where you want to be.
Right, okay. So Falconwrath Gorger is the straightforward attempt by Luca to start the game in a strong fashion, a 2-1 for 1. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, Luca has the good start because it also is a 2-power creature compared to something like a Village Messenger or a Bowmat Curie, which would just be stopped and dead in the tracks by the Minister. So that's nice.
Yeah, a little bit of 2 toughness going on there.
Speaking of which,
all right. So out comes a pretty recent shock to kill off the Minister, but in response, let's use a bit of energy, and you can see a God Pharaoh's Gift now sitting down there in Simon Nielsen's graveyard. So for people who aren't super used to the GPG, what is the flow of the deck? What is it trying to do?
The basic goal for the deck is try to get 6 creatures in the graveyard with Minister of Inquiries, with Cathartic Reunion. Instant Neonate helps by being a creature as well. So these kind of small creatures. And then finding Gate to the Afterlife, most usually, which is a 3-mana artifact that we just about to see
that
play.
Thing right there.
Yeah, and the good thing about it that you can sacrifice it, and you get to search up a God Pharaoh's Gift and put it into play. So that's the gist of it, and it usually works. With just a couple of draw spells and other stuff, you'll get to that point fairly easily because the deck is made up of usually creatures. Once the God Pharaoh's Gift is in play, you tend to just animate your Angels of Invention, make them into huge beaters with flying and haste and lifelink and vigilance and whatnot.
And all of that sounds a little more powerful than here's a Sunscorched Ruin deal you 1.
Yes,
but
very much so.
Luca is piling in. In comes the Crop Crasher, and the Messenger and the Falconwrath Gorger there. There's God Pharaoh's Gift on your screen. So, yeah, I think I might exile a creature card, actually, and have that 4/4 black zombie with haste.
Yeah, so there's a Neonate. Okay, he's already discarding the Angel. I think he has a bunch of creatures in his graveyard. Yeah, there's the Gate to the Afterlife. So there's Neonate, Angel Invention, Minister of Inquiries, Walking Ballista, 4, Trophy Mage, Hollow
5,
One.
6.
Yes.
That sounds like 6 to me.
Yeah, so, and the Angel being the most crucial one. So I think Simon Nielsen had the best sort of draw at turn 4, God Pharaoh's Gift. Right, and remember also there's the interaction between the Gate of the Afterlife does also something else. Whenever a creature you control dies, you gain life. You can also loot. So that also helps to get more creatures into the graveyard if you so desire. So there's the activation, just like they drew it up, Rich.
Right.
He can also search his graveyard, I think. So, but he's going to go for the one in his library.
Right. So we have GPG in play.
Yep. So this means now that it's a steady stream of 4/4s, 1 a turn, but it's a base stats 4/4, which means that the Angel of Invention, because of Fabricate, you get to put 2 counters on it. So that means not just the 4/4 flyer, haster, whatever. It's also a 6/6. So,
wow.
And with lifelink being very relevant, and particularly in this matchup.
In the matchup against Red.
Yeah, because you see, Luca does have the Uncrop Crasher, so he can just make the Angel not be able to block, but the life swing is just so huge.
Yeah.
And it also helps that it makes other creatures get +1/+1, so they come back as 4/4, but are going to be 5/5s essentially. That's also another nice aspect of the Angel. Yeah. Simon Nielsen sitting pretty.
And now the interesting to me is that Simon Nielsen was I was talking on air during the time walk about this huge match that was still going on. That was, not delaying the tournament, but was the last match of the round, and there were about 100 people around the table. That was Simon Nielsen. So he has basically handed a result slip in and walked to the feature match area to go again. So I don't know. Is the gift deck, is it slow enough that it's going to play a lot of the time within rounds generally?
Yeah.
Scoop.
This is the fast one, but the thing is, the deck can go into games that are really long. I've heard from Simon himself and some other players saying what happens if they dispossess your Godfarer's gifts? It kind of means that you can't play your original game plan anymore. So you have to figure out some other way to win, and usually involves some big Eternalizer Champion of Wits, trying to get it as a forefront, get some card advantage going, hard casting your creatures. There I see Simon has some Glory Bringers in his graveyard, so just going with an alternative game plan. What is he doing?
He's showing us that he's putting things in, I think.
Yeah, it's just 2 cards. 2 red cards. I couldn't quite make out what they were.
Like Hazarets? We don't have deck lists yet here, by the way, in case you're wondering. We're not being coy. Meanwhile, we have standings ready to show you. So here we go. Bart Valentin and Andrea Sonzoni of Italy lead the way. From Bardini, Lippi, Parisi, Belma, Ariste, Boldrini, Jones, Boccalera, Parazzoli, Parian, all of those 27s down to Leon van der Linden in 17th place. Hugeny and Bernigo. Hugeny looking for back-to-back wins. Let's move on to our next group. Here's Javier Dominguez at 8 and 2. All of these 8 and 2s, by the way, still live for top 8, very much so. The field is pretty small. Wouldn't surprise me even if a 12 and 3 might make it in. 12, 2 and 1 almost certainly will. So Javier Dominguez there, Federica Del Basso. We saw Josh Bausch in feature match action yesterday. Pavel Matisek of the Czech Republic. Lucas Blahon, the Czech Republic. Daniel Antonio lost last round in the feature match area. Simon Nielsen, of course, 8 and 2. Also, well done, GB's George Channing, doing nicely, thank you. Loic Le Briand, another Grand Prix champion. Interesting to see him transition from modern Bern, which he won the GP with, into standard Ramanat Red, and apply a lot of the same philosophy and strategy to that. And we'll just show you 41 through 60 just to wrap up the people. Again, all these players still live for top 8 at this stage, including one of Legacy's great players, Jonathan Angelescu of Germany. He's at 8 and 2. Carlos Morale with his blue-red control lost last round. That's the match we didn't have time to get you while we were watching Alexa Telerov. So that's the shape of play there. The players gearing up for round game number 2 here. So there's not a joke coming, chat. I promise you. This is just a true story. Matteo, are you aware of what the Japanese coverage team did with the Godfarer's Gift 4/4s?
Yes.
How they solved that problem?
I think I saw it from some Japanese player who showed it on Twitter. I think it was the Gulsteed.
Right.
Yeah.
So a long time ago, like probably about a decade or so ago, there was a big sort of fad in Japanese Magic to take 5, 6, 7 copies of a card and basically turn it into a mini 3D kind of sculpture. So you would basically peel away bits of the artwork to gradually develop depth, and you ended up with these amazing creations. So they basically did the same thing. They took some Ghoul Steeds and then they turned them essentially into sleeves. They cut out the space in the middle, so you had this 4/4, and then they were able to slot in the new card, if you like. So you ended up with a black frame and a 4/4, and it's a zombie and so on, through the different layers, hiding the relevant bits, and so you end up with these lovely 3D tokens. Here, well, Simon Nielsen's just going for the, I'm going to take this halfway out of the sleeve for you, and then we all understand where we are. But that just seems like a fantastic amount of work, for one thing. But great job by our Japanese colleagues. Looking forward next week to bringing you coverage of Japanese nationals, by the way. That's going to be a real adventure. We're going to be doing it on tape delay. So we're going to record the whole day, curate it all, get the main match each round, and so you'll get none of stuff like this, watching players shuffling. It'll be game, game, game. Let's move on to round 2. Game, game, game. Let's show you a draft. On we go. Let's show you, so it's going to be a really exciting experiment with the the sort of studio based in Seattle with BDM and Marshall and the gang and lots of guests from R&D and so on. I'm heading out to Japan to on-site with Rashad and to actually sort of get it all together, sort of get the footage together, as it were. So it's going to be an interesting week. First time we've ever done this, and hope it's going to be lots of fun for everyone around the world. It's going to be going live 10 a.m. Pacific in Seattle, so it'll be prime time in Europe. You'll be able to watch Saturday and Sunday evenings as we head through Japanese nationals. But before that, many rounds here, and then the big one. GP Washington, D.C. Brad Nelson 8-1, Corey Baumeister 9-0. That's 11-1 in played matches. Can they take Mono White Eldrazi, their let's out-level ourselves from 2 weeks ago with Team Energy? This is what we think positions ourselves best. They only lost one match between them. Could they possibly go back to back to back in standard double top 8ing? That would just be extraordinary.
In addition, Seth Manfield also playing the same deck, 8-1.
8-1 as well.
And there's Lucas Blanc is running the same list here.
It's the same list?
He's X and 2. They're all going to be part of Team Genesis playing in Worlds in Boston, the Team Series Finals. Okay. So they prepared together, exchange deck lists for this event, and it's working out really well for all of them.
Yes, the Captain Mogar. They both had 3 buys. Although their scores are 9-0 and 8-1, 17-1, it's actually 11-1.
Still impressive.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So off we go again. It's gorgeous time for Luca Sacchi against Simon Nielsen, who is low on cards.
Mulligan to 5. These things happen. It's also this deck is not that consistent. You get a lot of weird cards, like the Angel of Inventions in your opening hand and whatnot. So there's some consistency issues for sure.
I like the blue basics for Simon Nielsen for a GPG deck because they are, of course, the Faroe Islands.
Yep. Correct. Yeah, they're nice.
The Faroe
Islands. I get it, Rich. I get it. Yeah, I get it. Let's move on.
Because they're a place. It's like it's in Europe.
You see what I have to put up with?
Shaker Kenra. Dragging it back to gameplay. Come on, Matej, back to the gameplay.
All right. People were asking in the chat, what was Simon Nielsen doing after game 1? He was showing us some cards from his sideboard. Yes. Chat figured it out. It was 2 Chandra's defeats.
Oh,
He was maybe showing us, look, I'm bringing in the anti-red hate.
Fair.
Playing it for the camera, as Simon does, of course. You might know him from Twitch as a streamer. Red button tie, yeah, of course. And he's a gold pro. 2 seasons in a row that he got to be gold level. So very impressive for him. Look at that, Lucas Saki's not messing around. He had a very similar draw in the previous game, but now being on the play and Simon stumbling a little bit, it's proving to be quite a bit effective.
Yes. There's where that giant M is. There is currently nothing for Simon. And that is not promising at all. There are nowhere near 6 creatures in the graveyard. He's got a gate to the afterlife. Does that help him in any way?
I don't think so. No, I think he's just dead. I mean, it can help. He can try Champion of Wits to try to dig for some more cards, but the problem is in this matchup, particularly playing the Gate of the Afterlife, as I like to call it, naked. And just on the board, also runs into the risk of being abraded by the red decks, which they're going to have quite a few of. So it's always quite risky. So yeah, maybe part of the reason why Simon decides to just try to dig with the Champion of Wit. So drawing 2, discarding 2. In this case.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, go Pharaoh's Gift and land. Yeah. Makes sense. Still super far behind.
Yeah, he should be super dead.
Yeah, he is dead. Really? There's a shock still in Luca's hand, so he can just shock face and just exert the Encore Crasher.
Thanks for the game.
This is why you play red and you punish mulligans hard, and you don't give them any room to breathe here. Yeah, Luca Sacchi.
Yeah. Not Sacchi, as I've been mispronouncing.
And I only know this because of Arrigo Sacchi, a famous football coach in Italy. It's
very good.
written the same way.
Okay. Yep, so we will head for a Game 3. Plenty more feature matches going on. Of course, we'll have our Time Warp match in a bit. And one of the two 10-0 players, don't want to put the curse on, but we hope that Bart Van Etten will be joining us at the end of this round for some Time Warp with the pros, if you like. And Bart Van Etten, I'm pretty sure he's wearing a Harry You Your Hopes T-shirt. I think he is one of the 34 members of Harry You Your Hopes, so I'm looking forward to finding out a bit more about that. If you're unaware, this is Tomohiro Saito's sort of, I guess you'd call it farm system in some ways, to give it a baseball analogy, looking at people who have solid records in the game but aren't currently on a top-level pro team, and are looking to take the next step. It's an interesting development, Matej.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying you're looking forward to how it's done. You can actually ask me, because I'm helping Haruya, not particularly with this program, but I was consulted on the players chosen if I had any reservations. And there's going to be a nice announcement next week about the new people on the Haruya Pros team. Because they're basically doing a tiered system where they have like the Haruya Pros, which are all going to be gold level and plus, so gold or platinum. And then the Hopes are all silver, bronze level players who are just looking to make the big breakthrough.
Yeah, and that's what seems so interesting to me, because there are... I look at someone like Brian Brown-Dewin, for example, who for a long time was, quote, merely very good at Magic. He went around, beat most of the people he played against, played at a tier or two below the PT a lot of the time, and was very successful and got better incrementally, and then suddenly managed to make the shift. And just very interesting to find where when you're that good. It's easy when you're terrible to find improvement, but when you are someone who routinely goes 10-5, 11-4, 12-3, and has 1 or 2 GP top 8s ever, where do you go from there to, I can make a Pro Tour top 8, I can routinely think that at a GP I'm in it to win it, not to make day 2 and cash? You know, where does that leap come from? And the Harry You Your Hopes program looks to me to be, in some way, trying to answer that. And the idea of, can we, as a big group, because I think 34 or so, can we be bigger than the sum of our parts? So it's going to be a fascinating program.
It's a great way for networking, basically, because out of the 34, I'm pretty sure a lot of them are going to qualify for the Pro Tour over the next season, and it's a prime opportunity. Like, okay, guys, we're in the same program. I've seen your name around. I've seen you wear the shirt, but I don't know you. But hey, how about we go and test for this Pro Tour? And or like, oh, but he can say, oh, I'm already testing with my friends, but can I join you? And just trying to figure out a way for them to really go to the next level. And part of it is also consistency and giving them some resources to, travel more to GPs and show off the Haruya brand in this regard as well. So it's a win-win for both, I think.
Sure. And I think it's particularly important because increasingly the biggest names in the game are going to solidify their team structures, and it is going to be we've been sort of joking on air about chairs, but there are only so many chairs in a team, and when there are only 6, you're not going to have 3 people leaving every season. So even if you're really good, breaking into a top team is going to be very hard over the next 2-3 years, I think. So to try and ally yourself with a second tier to try and make that step, I think is huge. I'm really excited about it, just as almost as a thought experiment. What would happen if, and we get to find out what would happen if.
And now we're going to get to answer what would happen if Monored mulligans to 5 and Jeskai Gift mulligans to 6. It's going to be an interesting game. With Lukasaki being on the draw, though, it might not be that problematic, but it's definitely going to be interesting in this one. Another thing that I want to latch on with the Haruya Hopes thing, I think it's also, it's a long-term investment, because if the person who's on Haruya Hopes goes on to make the Pro Tour top 8, one, they can probably make the jump up to the Haruya Pros, which is already much more interesting from several aspects. But also just they've Paria invests relatively little and gets to show off their brand and what they're doing and being successful at it.
Right.
Which is I think fantastic.
And also I think they've been very clever, and this is not turning into a Harry You Love Fest, but I do think they've been very clever in that they haven't gone we're Japanese, they've gone Magic's global. And here's Bart Van Etten, who we're talking about at 10-0, in a GP where there would not be many Haruya pros playing necessarily. I was interested to see Jeremy Desarnes playing in a big tournament in Japan right now.
Yeah.
It's like, why aren't you here? Oh, because you're playing Magic in Japan. Of course you are. But yeah, super fun. Let's see what goes on with game number 3. It's Minister of Inquiries once again.
Great start.
So underway for Nielsen with his 2 energy. Lucas Saki. Now, if Saki had a shock right now, would he just reach out with it and kill the Minister?
Yeah, he's going to do it with Magma Spray.
Okay, same. Yeah.
Which is better than a shock because it actually exiles the creature.
So still at 0 in the graveyard. Yeah.
Ooh, another Minister though from Simon. It's a great start. They actually, I've heard the Jeskai gift players that were playing it in a couple of weeks prior, like Corey Burkhardt and Mike Sickers, I think. They said that Minister of Inquiries is by far the best thing you can be doing on turn 1. And the Magma Spray is really showing up. Look at
the Bomat Courier.
Finally,
there we go.
Yeah. He finally has a way through it because the Ministers would have completely roadblocked the Bomat Courier and especially its ability. And yes, Simon has to get going here. A Cathartic Reunion, discarding Champion of Woods and Angel of Invention. It's nice. Ipno Riverland, Inspiring Vantage, and Instant Neonate. Okay, not bad.
Yeah, someone in chat was saying earlier, it looks like maybe Insolent Neonate is just about the only thing that's going to rotate away from this deck.
Might be.
We haven't checked that. I am literally passing on something that someone said in chat. Which obviously it must be true because it was in chat.
Yeah.
Here's the Gorger, Falconwrath Gorger, up against the Insolent Neonate. This time, Bomat Courier just sits there. Simon Nielsen trying to pilot GPG, God Pharaoh's Gift, to victory. There's the Insolent Neonate.
Yeah, he might rotate out, but we already saw that there's going to be some vampires rotating in Ixalan.
I didn't actually realize that was Michael Jackson.
Kind of looks like him.
Huh.
I expected a pun.
No.
Something just neonate. No.
No. Why
Sorry,
why would everything be a setup with me? Come on now.
Well,
because I'm bad. I'm bad.
You've been known to do
really,
that.
really bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, I walked right into that one.
Yeah. Was that a thriller? You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, Gate to the Afterlife. A neat trick. It is quite good with the Neonate, because you kind of get to like loot / rummage twice, and you get to gain life if you want to. And Simon's already kickstarted the search for creatures. He already has 2 in his graveyard. There's 1 in play. There's at least 1 in his hand. So if the top cards of his library are going to cooperate, he's going to be fine. He also has the Ipno Rivulet, so worst comes to worst, he can just mill some more cards into his graveyard as well. Let's see if Lucas Saki has an Uncrop Crasher. Yep.
Here we go.
That's important.
So let me have a read of this Gate to the Afterlife thing. Well, we get to do that too at home on screen. Smash.
Yeah, and this is important because the Neonate is just such an annoying creature. Because Simon Nielsen could at any time just decide to trade with the Bomat Courier or Falconwrath Gorger. And it looks like Lucas Saki actually forgot the Bomat Courier trigger. Doesn't get to put an extra card in, which could be really relevant because he's down to 1 card in his hand. And next turn he could have potentially gotten 3 new ones. So, yeah.
That's grim.
Yeah, it happens. We've seen the last round, Loic Lebriand also made one mistake that actually cost him the game 2, and when he was up 1, and then lost to Robin Dollar in the end. So you still have to be quite careful with your triggers and with your cards. Don't rush things.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I wonder about quite how it happens. What is the moment where the the brain flow is interrupted to mean, because it's sort of an autonomic response that it's like, here's my Burmat courier, attacks, trigger, card. It's a physical thing as much as anything. So something happens to make that, you know, something gets inserted between that one thought unit to deliver that.
In this case, it's very easy because I can see that Lukasaki's thinking, all right, I'm going to play Archon Crasher. I'm going to attack with everything. That's 6 damage. Make that unable to block.
Right.
Okay, that's 6. So bring it down to 13. And somewhere along the line, the Bomb Courier trigger just gets forgotten because it should be automatic, but it's just not.
Because when the way you said that, I'm attacking for 6, gets you to damage, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah. God, the mind's complicated.
Yeah. Speaking of complicated, here we have some triggers. So first, Simon has to sacrifice the Neonate and discard a card, which is a Glennis Crane. On top, the Gate of the Afterlife triggers, which gains him a life. And now he's get to draw, discard. No, okay. I might have missed something.
So now land. He's only got 1 land left in hand. That's all there is.
Yeah. Remember, also another thing that just comes into the equation is the fact that there's also the life gain is mandatory from the Gate of the Afterlife, but the loot is not.
All right.
So that's why
3 land and an Insolent Neonate went to the graveyard.
Yep. And so that means that's just enough.
Yep.
Because the Hypno Rivulet, just a very a tiny card that like you might miss, but you know it's the blue Ramnap Ruins. There you see it. So the Rivulet, actually, you can mill 4 cards off your graveyard. And here we go, Angel of Invention time again. And swing in for 6. And God Pharaoh's Gift time. That's gonna crush it hard for Lukasaki. Simon Nilsson back up to 20. And Lukasaki just has his Hazoret and a Shark. He can make the Angel of Invention and be now able to block it. It's just not going to be that helpful in the long term because, as we saw in the game before, it has Vigilance, it has Lifelink, it has Flying, of course, and it's going to pump up some other guys coming in from that God Pharaoh's Gift. So Simon Nilsson set it up really nicely.
Yeah, so again, Simon using the format of I'm just going to take it out of the sleeve most of the way, so you can see that this is very much... both players know where we are, but if you are just joining us, that's like, why is that out of a sleeve? Well, because it's a 4/4 black zombie plus all the bonusy stuff.
Yeah. Who cares about those?
What, the rulesy stuff?
Yeah, so what's going to happen now? Lukasaki is going to now struggle hard to find an answer to the Angel Invention. Yeah. He's just not going to bother anymore because he knows the writing's on the wall. Because a stream of not only 4/4s but pumped by the Angel of Invention would be 5/5s. And with it being Champion of Wit, just more cards, more and more cards every turn. There was no point in playing further. So Simon Nilsson doing well and going up to 9-2.
Very much alive for top 8. Now, at 8-3... that's probably quite early for the 3rd loss to have happened for Lukasaki in terms of top 8. But there were only 300 and a few who came back this morning. So as a result, this is not going to be a tournament where 13-2 misses out, if you like. So let's get you some more magic here in round number 11. Let's take you across to Alessandro Lippi with what I would say is the classic matchup of this weekend in terms of new standard. Teema Energy against Ramanat Red. And where are we? Well, Nikolin Lascu is at 20, Lippi at 16. He's got a Long Tusk Cub, only got 1 energy by the looks of things, sitting there. And the Long Tusk Cub is going to trade for the 2nd Arn Crop Crasher. Lippi struggling for mana by the looks of things as well. Yeah, he's just passing with 2 mana. That said, Lascu's probably the other way round. He's laying land number 5 and hasn't got a lot of business going on. Lippi trying to decide whether he wants to kill off the Uncrop Crasher. He's got a Magma Spray available right now.
No lands though. That was the main problem. With the way I look at the graveyards, Alessandro played a Servant of the Conduit and Nicolin just shocked it away and just tried to constrain. And now I like it. Alessandro Lippi is trying to milk, every draw he puts it in the bag and just tries to push it seal, and hopefully at the end. And look at that, Nikolai Lask is being fairly aggressive with his Ramanam ruins already. Lippi down to 10 here. Ooh.
Well, it's half a land.
Yeah.
This turn. At least he knows it's there and ready to go. And pass from the Ramanat red player.
I think Nikolin might have sacked his lands maybe a little bit too prematurely, because I think he might have just drawn a Glorybringer and he's not able to cast it.
No, that's horrible.
But I wouldn't bet my house on it.
Yeah, it's a tricky dance, isn't it? Because the Ramanat red deck does tend to actually want a bunch of mana in later games.
He drew a Sunscorched, and now he has the mana for the Glorybringer on the perfect turn where Lippi tapped out.
Oh,
down to
Lippi 3. Now Harness Lightning,
sure,
is plenty because he's got enough energy there. Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a blocker. Remember, I learned this the hard way. You can't exert Glorybringer to kill a Glorybringer, but there's cut to ribbons.
And that is the end of that. Wow, there we go. That one's all done. So that's... are we done in terms of feature matches right now? Okay, so with a bit of luck, we'll have Bart Van Etten with us in the next few minutes. We can bring it back to the booth. Here at Grand Prix Turin, Nikolai Laskin advancing to 10-1 after 2 rounds here. Richard Matei here with